they watching, I'ma make them sweat. Put your money down, place your bets. Degenerate, yeah, I'm a sicko. Who else gon' get you to the window? I know they watching, I'ma make them sweat. Put your money down, place your bets.
Hey there, sports fans, and welcome to a special episode of Graybo's Giblets. We're out here dropping giblets. I'm your host, Graybo, and I am joined by Dennyonetime to break down some college football futures. We're going to talk about some sleeper teams and predictions for this upcoming college football season and to see who are going to be our predictions for the college football playoffs. Denny, say hello to the people, and are we ready for some football?
Graybo, I get very excited this time of year between NFL, fantasy football, and college football. I am just fired up. I'm like a little kid at Christmas time.
I mean, we're a week away, and I'm sure we'll be out here next week for NFL and dropping bets all month and all season long. It's going to be a great time. So let's get right into it and talk about sleeper picks. So we have two things I want to talk about today. One, let's talk about one team that you think outside of a Power 5 conference that can win us some money this year. And then give me one team that has a shot to make the playoffs that's not a Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Bama. No chalk. So let's start with one team or a couple teams outside the Power 5 conference that can win us some money. Who do you think can make some noise this year?
Yeah, so I love betting these, going outside the Power 5 and betting the G5 games. I think as you go, like I always say, the NFL lines are the most sharp, and then you drop down to Power 5 college football. They're not as sharp as NFL lines, but pretty sharp. And then you drop down to the G5, and I think you can find some value. So we'll be giving you some G5 winners bets against the spread all season long. But some futures as far as win totals and or to win the conference. Got a couple I'm going to throw your way. I love betting games in the MAC. Action is one of my favorite things to follow throughout the year and bet on. The MAC is like a wide open conference, and the top two teams, Toledo and Ohio, not enough value there. So I'm looking a little farther down, Miami of Ohio. First, I'm looking at them at over 6.5 wins. I'm looking at them at plus 360 to win their side of the MAC, their division in the MAC, and then plus 800 to win the whole thing. Now, do I think they're going to win it? I'm not sure, but I like the value there across the board. So I'm going to kind of load up on Miami of Ohio. And two more teams I'm betting their win total. One is Central Michigan. I love the directional Michigan teams, always do. But over 5.5 wins. And then also give me Western Kentucky over 8.5 wins. Western Kentucky made famous by a guy named Bailey Zappi. Maybe you've heard of him. But I think they might win 10 games, and I like them over 8.5.
All right, I love it.
So your next question is one team outside to make the playoffs. It's not Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, or Bama. I think there's a couple of teams that have a shot. I think it's going to get weird this year. Two teams I'm looking at maybe. One is Penn State. I think Penn State will go as their quarterback goes, and I think their quarterback is pretty solid. A lot of folks haven't heard of him, Drew Aller. And then the other, and I don't like betting on James Franklin, so that it takes a lot for me to say it's something nice about Penn State. But I do think they have a shot to sneak into the playoff. And then finally, Texas. Texas has reloaded at running back after Bijan going away. They have a great quarterback room. Quinn Ewers is third in the Heisman odds right now, and he might be the third best quarterback on that team, apparently. Malik Murphy is a stud, and Arch Manning's their third best quarterback. Sark's got them headed in the right direction as a program. They're highly likely to win their conference. And so give me Texas to sneak into the playoff.
Oh, I like it. I like it a lot. I'm going to add one team going to the Sun Belt here. I really like South Alabama. Kind of as my sleeper team to bet on like every Saturday. I think the win total is about 8.5. I like that a lot. They bring back a lot of starters on the defensive side. They're reloading with quarterback. They brought in a guy from Toledo that's in the mix at quarterback, but they bring back all their running backs. And they only failed last year not to get over 100 yards twice, so they're going to lean heavy on that run game. Their defense was ranked third in all of college football last year. Now, I know they play in the Sun Belt, but that's saying something. They could shut down offenses in the Sun Belt down a lot. And one of the big games they start off with this year is Tulane. Tulane is a top 25 team this year, preseason top 25, and they get them first game. Sometimes in that first game, a team like Tulane, with all that pressure and that they're ranked in the top 25 going into the season, I think South Alabama can get them on September 2nd, and then they also get Oklahoma State September 16th. Those are two big games. If they win those two, they could go undefeated in their conference. I like South Alabama a lot to grab that win total and to grab a lot of wins beating the spread as well. I'm sure we will talk about that when we do our preview shows for college football Saturdays. But my sleeper team that I think might jump into the Final Four with a team like Georgia will be Washington. The Pac-12, as we know, is going away, but I think the Pac-12 is going to have some teams this year. They've been struggling a lot in the past couple years as, not this big, powerful conference, but I think they got some teams this year. And Washington is led by their quarterback, Michael Penix Jr. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the nation based on his stats last year. He came from Indiana. I also like his number to win the Heisman at 16-1. Especially with Caleb Williams. His odds are so high. This is just a good value for Penix Jr., who just is going to chuck the ball left and right for Washington this year. Probably last season in the Pac-12 for Washington, but their prop is about 9.5 wins, and they are 50-1 to win it all. So that is great value for Washington. Yes, they're going to have to go through Oregon. They're going to have to go through USC and Oregon State, all ranked this year, and so is Washington. But there's some also very bad teams in the Pac-12 that they're going to feast on. So I love that over 9.5 wins. And I will be betting Washington 50-1 to win it all, because they can definitely sneak in. They're definitely good enough to win the Pac-12. And I think a team from the Pac-12 will get in just based on how many teams are already ranked. The ACC just stinks, in my opinion. And I think a Pac-12 team will trump an ACC team like Florida State or Clemson, in my opinion. All right, so those are some sleeper teams that you can go get right now. Go get them. Let's win some money. Let's get into our future bets. This bets we're going to place or that we've already placed. This can be anything under the win total, over the win total, conference champion, future bet on a national champion. So, Duke, any futures for win totals or a national champion that you like?
Yeah, there's a lot. So, starting in the SEC, obviously Georgia is the favorite. They're not laying enough juice to get me to bet them to win the conference. Just to win their half of the SEC to get into the title game, they're minus 500. Minus 500 bets are not ones I usually lay down. You're laying 500 to win 100, but I just don't see a scenario where they don't get into their title game. So give me that bet. Also in the SEC, I think Mississippi State is doo-doo on a stick, and so I'm taking them under 5.5 wins. Obviously, lost their coach last year, tragedy, and new guy might be a little over his head, so give me under 5.5 wins for Mississippi State. Heading into the Big Ten, also think Michigan State's going to struggle. Under 5.5 wins is a bet I'm taking. I like Maryland. I have over 7.5. I see you have them at 7, so I'll try to find 7, obviously, but give me Maryland over 7.5 wins. 2 is little brother, going to light it up. In the Big 12, Texas is the favorite to win the conference. In the Big 12, they don't have divisions, so the top 2 teams make it to the title game. And so Texas would have to come in third or worse to not make the title game. And I don't see that scenario happening. So I'm also laying minus 240 for Texas just to get into their title game. In the back to the SEC for a second, for national title bets, obviously Georgia's the favorite to win the whole thing. I do think Georgia is likely to do that, but they're only paying plus 220 to win it all, which I just don't. That's not a bet I like to make. It's just so much can happen in the course of a season. So then I'll start thinking who could beat Georgia. Obviously, the teams you mentioned earlier, like Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, people will consider those folks. I don't see the Big Ten actually getting it done in the playoff. I don't see the Big Ten, any of those teams winning 2 games in the playoffs. I think if Georgia's not going to win it all, it's going to be somebody in their own conference that beats them, like if a second SEC team sneaks into the playoffs. So the first ones I look at as far as value, I'm fading Alabama at plus 600, but LSU 11-1 to win it all. Again, it's one of those bets, so I think it's going to happen. No, but is there value there? Possibly. And then Ole Miss is a sneaky team. Lane Kiffin, nothing surprises me with Lane Kiffin. He's so unpredictable. You're getting 100-1 on Ole Miss, and I think there's a path for them to sneak into the playoff. A lot of things have to go right, but Ole Miss at 100-1, and finally, Texas is a team. Again, a lot of things have to go right, but all the talent they have and all the momentum they have and the quarterback room they have. I'm not sure which quarterback's going to be playing at the end of the year, but they're all good. So give me Texas plus 2,200, so 22-1 to win it all.
I like that. I think I'm going to add Texas at 22-1 for all the reasons you said. But my first one is we are both on Maryland. I love it. I got them at over 7 wins. Their first 5 games are cakewalk. They do play in a hard division. They will have to play Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. So you might say, okay, that's going to be 3 losses. But I think they could sneak one of those wins in. Like you said, veteran quarterback, offensive coordinator, and head coach both come from the Alabama tree. Maryland is sneaky good this year. If their defense can hang in tough with some games, the offense is going to score. So there's need to get some stops on defense. They play Virginia the 3rd week. Easiest win of all time. Virginia might be the worst team in the NCAA.
That's a Virginia fan saying that.
I am a Virginia fan. That's why I'm saying that. All this hype with Colorado and all this hype around Deion and bringing all these guys in, I just hope they lose every game. I think it's going to be a lot harder than people think. They sold out every home game. I have Colorado under 3.5 wins. They might beat Stanford. That's the only game they're favored. It's the only game they're favored. They start with TCU as an out-of-conference game. They got to go to Oregon. They got to play USC. The Pac-12 is sneaky good this year, in my opinion. So I see Colorado maybe winning 1 or 2 games. I don't see them winning 4. Nowhere close. So I have Colorado under 3.5. I know people are like, oh, man, they might go undefeated on this hype. No way. Don't see them winning more than 3, in my opinion. And then I really added this team. I really like Wisconsin. Going back to the Big Ten, Wisconsin over 8.5 wins. Big Ten is divided up into 2 divisions. One division is Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State. They're all in the same. That's crazy. Wisconsin is over 8.5 wins. They're favored in 7 games already by double-digit spreads. So Wisconsin over 8.5. Love that. And then for my future bets, I know you don't like this number, but I'm all in on Georgia. I'm going to spend a lot of money on Georgia to win it at plus 225. I think they 3-peat. That's the goal. And I think they're like an NFL team out there. I don't see Bama coming close. Yeah.
So I don't think that's a bad bet necessarily. So one way people want to get crazy is if you lay like a pretty big number on Georgia at plus 225, you could then take shots on 3 or 4 other teams that are paying really long odds. And if Georgia wins, you pocket a profit. And if one of those other 3 or 4 teams wins, you make even more. That might be one way to play it. You just got to guess the 3 or 4 teams, right? It's like the ones I threw out, the ones you're going to throw out could be fun ways to hedge against that.
Correct. So, yeah, I am all over Georgia. And then there's probably only going to be like Denny said, only 1 or 2 teams that I bet after that. And one of those teams is definitely going to be Washington at 50-1. Love that value. Now, if you're not going to bet Georgia and you don't like Washington, you want some value kind of in the middle. I like USC at 16-1 with the Heisman Trophy candidate, Caleb Williams. I think they're going to be special this year, and I think that's going to be the one team Washington has to hurdle to get into the college football playoffs. But my 2 big ones, I'm all in on Georgia. I'm going big money Georgia, plus 225, and then I'm going to sprinkle some on Washington, just in case. That's that 1 and 4 seed matchup, right? Georgia, Washington wins. and then I can kind of hedge it there. But those are my two teams this year. I'm really in on Washington this year.
If someone's going to beat Georgia, it's going to be someone where the quarterback
right
exceeds expectations, like a Penix, like a Caleb Williams, like Quinn Ewers at Texas, somebody like that does something crazy.
Yeah, you can see a little pattern here is I'm picking teams with quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. I haven't really touched on Bama because their quarterback situation.
I don't know who it is yet.
It's rough right now.
Yeah.
So speaking of Bama, let's get into our last segment, predicting the college football playoffs. This is the last year that we're going to have 4 teams. Mm-hmm. So if you had to pick the 4 teams that you think are going to come away at the end, what 4 teams do you have? What are their seedings? Mm-hmm. And then who is the winner? Love it.
I love doing this. So I'm going to take Georgia in the 1 spot as the 1 seed. I'm with you. I think they're the best team. They're reloaded at quarterback. They like their guy Carson Beck. So they're going to be 2 touchdown favorites in almost all of their games that they play. So I have a good feeling they're going to be the 1 seed. And then, could they lose a game? Sure. But even if 1 loss, they'll probably still be the 1 seed. At the 2 seed, give me Texas winning the Big 12, getting in there with 0 or 1 losses and becoming the 2 seed. For the 3 seed, I'm going back to the SEC, and I am going to take LSU as the 3 seed that sneaks in. So no Bama for me. Finally, as the 4 seed, going to get weird. Like I said earlier, mentioned Penn State. So Penn State has this weird tiebreaker situation, which actually works in their favor. If Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State all finish with 1 loss and they all play each other, so they could, if they all beat each other, then that could happen. Because of Penn State's strength of schedule, they would not get into the Big Ten championship. And so it means they can't lose the Big Ten championship.
Interesting.
So they could have 1 loss, and they could possibly get into the playoff. Now, obviously, I didn't put Ohio State or Michigan in here, so this scenario would mean.
I was about to say,
yeah, it couldn't happen.
When those teams
I'm just
win.
naming 4 teams and hoping I get 2 or 3 right. Okay, that's what I'm doing. So give me Penn State sneaking in just to get weird as the 4th team.
I like it. I'm kind of like you. I went with 4 teams in 4 different divisions, which I'm just kind of trying to hit one kind of underdog to get in there. You could always just go the chalk and like Georgia, Michigan, Bama, Ohio State, but I went a little different. I actually took Bama out. I just like the quarterback situation. They're going to have trouble this year, I think, and the SEC just beats up on one another. So here's a bold prediction. No team besides Georgia and SEC is getting in. And number 1, obviously Georgia. 2, I have Michigan. All the fallout with Harbaugh and all the allegations that are going on. I do still think they have a really good team. They got a good quarterback that has proven himself last year to take his team to the playoffs. So I do like Michigan. They're just reloading, and their defense is great. And I think Ohio State can't beat them. Number 3, after listening to you and everything you were saying, I just think Texas is so strong at the quarterback position. They play in kind of a weaker conference, the Big 12. So I think I'm going to go Texas at 3, and then I have to go Washington at 4. I was going back and forth, Washington, USC, even Oregon. But since I was so high on Penix, I'm going Washington at 4. So, and Georgia's going to be my winner. Georgia beats Washington. I think Texas beats Michigan, and Georgia beats Texas in the Natty to 3-peat. So now we are a sports card store, so we have to ask Denny about sports cards. Who should we buy going into the season if we're talking about Bowman and the cards that are coming out, Bowman U? What quarterbacks or what position players are we going to be looking forward to this season when they're done and the draft is going to be looming?
Okay, so if you're looking at cards to buy, obviously you should lean towards QBs and QBs that could win the Heisman. Obviously, QBs that can win the national championship. Caleb Williams is the favorite for the Heisman at plus 500. I was buying this guy 2 or 3 months ago. I think the hype is going to be a little too much at this point in the year, so it might be too late to get value there. but you're not going to be mad holding up Caleb Williams-Bowman first auto. Second, Jaden Daniels, quarterback for LSU at plus 900 win the Heisman, is a second favorite. I think he's probably a decent buy as well. Quinn Ewers is weird for me because I really like him. However, there's a possibility where he's not starting the whole year because who's got behind him? Arch Manning's the number 3 and Malik Murphy number 2. So I would not buy his card simply for that reason, even though I think you've heard me say a lot of good things about Texas. Michael Penix at Washington. I do, just like you, think that there's just a lot of ways to bet Washington. You can bet them to win the conference. You can bet them to make the playoff. You can bet them over their win total. You could buy Penix's card. I think all of those are kind of fun ways to ride the Washington wave because I do look forward to seeing them. Cade Klubnik, Clemson, fading him. J.J. McCarthy, Michigan, fading him. Florida State quarterback Jordan Travis, maybe. I'm really interested. We didn't talk
much about the ACC.
Yeah, the ACC, and we didn't talk about this next guy who used to be in the ACC. Quarterback for Notre Dame, Sam Hartman. I think he's a stud. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and it'd be really interesting to see what he does at Notre Dame.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I actually looked into Notre Dame a lot just because of Hartman. I just, you just don't know. I do like Notre Dame. I like Florida State to come out of the ACC. But when Florida State, these last couple of years have always been like, oh, top 10, and then they just struggle. Yeah. I mean, that's the ACC. The ACC, I'm done with.
Yeah,
being a UVA fan right now.
I'm with you.
I'm kind of out on the ACC altogether as a whole. But I do like Notre Dame. That's kind of sneaky as well. But that's going to do it.
3 more names.
Yeah.
Don't
go
stop.
ahead. Yeah. Go.
Okay, sorry. All right. Thane Bode next at Oregon. Not a bad quarterback, but not buying his card. Drake May, quarterback from North Carolina. Also, like Hartman, I think one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I think could be a good pro. Marvin Harrison Jr., receiver for Ohio State. I think he is a monster, and I think he's going to be a high draft pick, and he's going to be a big name all year long. And finally, the sleeper, Penn State's quarterback I mentioned earlier, Drew Aller. I think he's a guy who's going to get a lot of attention this year. If Penn State's able to beat Ohio State or Michigan, sneak into the playoff, etc., I think he's going to be a big name, and you can get him for really cheap right now. So turn it back to you, Greg.
Love it. Thank you, Denny. All right, well, that's going to do it for us today, guys. Good luck with your bets, your future bets. We will be coming out next week with maybe an NFL preview show, and college football starts next week, so we'll be getting into all the games, breaking down the slate. So thanks for listening and riding with Graybos, and be sure to tune in next time. Leave us a 5-star review, and come see us at the shop down on 214 East Gray Street. We are out.
Giblets.
Sleep, I don't see sheep, see dollar signs. $100 got him beat the eyes for the 100th time at a money line. Brock Purdy was irrelevant, now I'm at the front like a cutting line. G5 to the power 5, Graybo's on fire like it's summertime. I know they watching, I'ma make them sweat. Put your money down, place your bets. Degenerate, yeah, I'm a sicko. Who else gon' get you to the window? I know they watching, I'ma make them sweat. Put your money down, place your bets. Degenerate, yeah, I'm a sicko. Who else gon' get you to the window?